In the city of Velistra, night didn't fall so much, arrived gently, like a thoughtful guest removing their shoes before stepping inside. And in that quiet city, there were no stars in the sky, only the skylight, an enormous, shimmering dome of glass that arched over everything, breathing light. The dome wasn't just for beauty, it was a living archive, humming softly with invisible energy. When someone in Velistra experienced something meaningful, be it joy, sorrow, revelation, or even a tender pause in conversation, a flicker of that moment would rise from their heart as a shimmer of light. It floated upward, slow and content, joining the quiet stream of other glowing motes that danced across the interior of the glass canopy. These weren't memories in the conventional sense. They weren't exact replicas of events, but rather their essence distilled feelings captured as light and motion. The entire city glowed at night, not from lanterns or lamps, but from the collected reverie of its people. At the heart of Velistra stood the Skylight Spiroslinda Tower, rising just above the glass dome, like a pen tip hovering over a page. At the very top of the spire, a single room glowed blue-white with activity. Inside was Mira, the Skylight Archivist. She was the only one trusted to interact with the memories, not because she was special in an obvious way, but because she moved with care. She spoke with intention. She understood that not all memories asked to be examined. Some only wanted to be held gently before continuing on their journey. Mira's world was made of silence, light, and reverence. Her tools were soft-gloved fingers, crystalline bowls, and instruments carved from wind-polished stone. She didn't extract memories or read them like stories. She curated them, tended to them like a garden of moonlight. Each evening, after dusting her instruments and watching the first flickers rise into the dome, Mira would step out onto the small balcony carved just beneath the lens of the spire. She'd gaze up at the slow-moving lights and whisper the same words she had said every night since she first took the role. May I hold today with care and return it when the dream is done. The dome responded in kind, a soft pulse of blue echoing across its curve. Another night's work had begun. The 11th lunar bloom brought with it a strange stillness to the sky. The dome hummed lower than usual, and the usual golden memory motes floated with less confidence, as though the city itself was holding its breath. Mira noticed the change. Immediately, she stood at the largest observation bowl in the spire's top chamber, watching as dozens of flickers descended toward her soft pinks, tranquil blues, and warm yellows, all memories tinged with contentment or closure. But among them drifted something different, a violet shimmer, not bright like the others, but deep, pulsing faintly with a kind of internal motion, as though it were breathing in slow, uncertain intervals. She leaned closer. Violet memories were the rarest of all. They came from emotions too tangled to label when grief and hope overlap, or when joy arrived too late to be shared. This one hovered above the memory bowl as if unsure. She reached for it slowly, palms open. "You're welcome here," she said, dotted, hesitated, then surrendered. Gently, it lowered into the bowl, settling with a quiet hum. Mira tilted her head, watching it. Even now, it trembled faintly, like it hadn't finished becoming whatever it was meant to be, rather than open. Immediately, she carried it down a spiral stair to the still glass drawer, a cold silver shelf carved from crystal mined beneath the western cliffs. The drawer slowed time, giving uncertain memories the chance to rest before being interpreted. She laid the violet shimmer inside and closed the drawer with both hands. The echo of its hum lingered. That night, Mira couldn't sleep. She lit a single candle in the small reading alcove beside her quarters, where shelves of untouched books kept her company, but her eyes remained on the ceiling and her thoughts on the shimmer. What moment had tried to become this memory, and why had it hesitated? She wondered if she'd ever know, or if, like so many things in Velistra, it would only reveal itself when she stopped looking. Asterisk morning in Velistra came slowly, as though the city itself enjoyed dreaming too much to rise quickly. Pale light filtered through the dome, illuminating Mira's soft footsteps as she descended into the lower archives. The air here was cooler, thick with the scent of sagewood and dustless stone. Spherical memory globes hovered in gentle rhythm, suspended in columns of light. Some pulsed with laughter, others carried sighs or silence, or the rhythm of music long faded from the waking world. Mira retrieved the violet shimmer from its drawer, now steadier but still quieter than the others. She carried it carefully to the sieve of intention, a delicate mesh of silver threads stretched over a crescent frame. The sieve allowed emotion to unfurl without unraveling the memory. The shimmer settled and began to bloom at first. Only color. Violet turned to rose, then softened to a muted gold. Then came form. A young person hunched over a table, assembling a glass model of Velistra. The pieces were intricate, fragile. Across the table, someone else smiled, offering small tools and whispered encouragements. "Someday we'll finish it together." The second voice said. Time moved. The second chair sat empty. The model remained half-built. Hands trembled. A tiny dome piece rolled off the table, unclaimed. Then, stillness. The shimmer pulsed once more, then dimmed. Mira exhaled, her breath misting slightly in the cool room. She felt no need to interpret. The feeling was clear that this was not a story of loss nor triumph. It was a memory of something interrupted, yet held onto, a promise spoken once, never forgotten. Gently, she cupped the light in her hands. Not every memory needed an ending. Some simply needed a place to rest. She carried it to the archive of unwritten ends, a set of small alcoves where soft light glowed constantly, as though every memory within them was dreaming of the version of itself that might have been. Mira placed the shimmer down and whispered, "You are enough, even unfinished." As she turned away, a low tone echoed faintly through the dome overhead. A chime of gratitude, or perhaps acknowledgement. Asterisk that evening. The city lay still beneath the heavy dusk. Mira sat beneath the spire's largest viewing lens, its surface polished to stardust sheath. The dome above curved infinitely, its shimmer caught between the last breath of sunlight and the first exhale of moonrise. Motes of memory floated, like lanterns adrift on unseen tides. She watched. Most were easy to name. The golden flickers of joyous reunions, the pale blue glows of peaceful solitude, the coral blushes of spontaneous kindness. But there was movement at the edge of her sight. The violet shimmer, the one she had archived, rose again. She stood. That wasn't possible. Archived. Memories were tethered. They didn't move unless summoned. Yet here it was, rising upward in slow spirals. Returning to the dome above. She followed it with her gaze as it passed beyond the upper lens, drifting into the greater current. As it reached the dome's inner arc, something unexpected happened. Another light in color approached it. Then a third. Mira pressed her hand to the glass. The surface was warm. The lights began to orbit one another gently, like leaves caught in a shared breeze. Then, as if responding to a call, they merged into a single, brighter shimmer. A complete memory. The shimmer pulsed once, then stilled. Mira stood in silence. Some moments, she realized, aren't broken, they're just incomplete. They wait for their other half. Sometimes for years, sometimes longer. The Skylight had known. It had kept the fragment safe until its twin was ready. Mira stepped back from the lens, her breath soft. She didn't speak. There was no need. Tonight, she had witnessed something whole itself. And that was enough. Velistra Serepto, below the dome. Lights in homes flickered out one by one, their warm glows replaced by soft, bluish quiet. The streets lay bare, not from absence, but from peace. The city had given the day all it needed to give. And so had Mira. She sat alone in her observatory chamber. The lens above her quiet, the bowls polished and empty, the instruments gently humming in their storage nests. Beside her sat a mug of tea, now cold, untouched. In her lap lay a folded piece of parchment, a letter left long ago by the archivist before her. She reread it now and then, especially on nights like this. "You won't understand every memory," it read, "but some will understand you." She closed her eyes. The violet shimmer had returned to the sky, not because it needed closure, but because it had become something new, something whole. She'd done nothing more than give it space, and that, she thought, was the quiet power of her work. Not analysis, not control, just care. Mira stood, walked to the open pane window, and leaned out. The dome stretched above her like a sky of bottled starlight. The wind was soft, smelling faintly of rose salt and silver dust. The shimmer of the night moved slowly, contentedly. She whispered, "May I hold today with care and return it when the dream is done." The dome responded just once with a subtle, echoing pulse. Somewhere, a new shimmer rose. A beginning, a continuation, a ripple in the light. Mira stepped back, turned off the lamps, and let the memory of the day wrap around her shoulders like a blanket of calm.